Hi to all listening, it's Graham Broughton here, Managing Director for Europe for We Are Pentagon. I'm being joined by Weldon this morning from Pricesearcher. Great to see you.
You as well, Graham.
Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today for this interview. Really looking forward to hear from you, and hopefully our listeners will be able to listen and engage in terms of some of the feedback you've got. So first of all, just to kick off, if you could tell us a bit about yourself, your background, sure, and why you joined Pricesearcher.
Sure, absolutely. So my name's Weldon, as you mentioned, and I'm the Chief Analytics Officer at Pricesearcher. So my background is a bit meandering. I think the one consistent thread is that I have quite a passion for data analytics and kind of driving actionable insight from data. So my first experience over in the UK came about 11 years ago when I did my PhD at Cambridge in bioinformatics. Then went over to Boston Consulting Group and did 4 years consulting in the London office. Then found myself at Amazon where I was the head of pricing for 2 years. And my main goal was to ensure that we were able to provide our customers with the best shopping experience no matter what. So this was a really great experience, and then ultimately led me to Pricesearcher. And I just noticed that the amount of data that they had, their focus on customers as well, really kind of resonated with my core beliefs on where e-commerce is going. Okay. So therefore, I decided that it'd be a great opportunity to move and try a startup. Jeff Bezos says we're still at day one in Amazon. I want to have my experience as well with that.
Fantastic. And so, how long have you been at Pricesearcher now?
So I've been at Pricesearcher for about a month right now.
Are you enjoying it?
Love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. Yeah, it's quite scrappy and fun.
Excellent. Yeah. So almost like the Amazon early days, possibly.
Exactly.
Excellent. So I think thanks for giving a bit of feedback about yourself. Sure. There. What we can do now is kind of dive into a few more specific questions, sure, in terms of pricing, how it's been affected on the high street and the retailers, and giving some of your input and information in terms of the background of what your thoughts are.
Absolutely.
So just to kick off, why do you feel pricing is important, and why is it important to have a pricing strategy and awareness of important for retailers of all sizes?
Absolutely. That's a great question. I think pricing is one of the kind of 4 key decision points that a customer will make in their journey to making a purchase. So pricing, selection, just what merchandise the retailer offers, fulfillment, and then service. Pricing is obviously going to be the first point of call for any retailer, for any customer. So what they'll be looking for is this price sharp compared to the market price within, I guess, the system that you're looking through. Mm-hmm. So we all know that, there's loads of empirical data that's showing that customers are actively price searching, and they're basically going around, going from one site to the next site. There's no barrier to go from one retailer to the next. So ensuring that you have that front pricing-led strategy ensures that you're at the table to make that conversion. Otherwise, you essentially might be servicing a price that might drive a poor pricing perception, and therefore you're now discontinued from that search.
Yeah, and lots of the marketplace algorithms and Google algorithms work on impression to conversion. And I suppose if you've not got that pricing piece right, then you can drive as much traffic as you want to that storefront page or that piece of retail space. Yeah. But if you've not got a really good price on there,
absolutely,
then it's not going to convert.
Completely agree.
That's really good advice. So pricing is always a sensitive subject, and with the recent closure of many high street retailers, their lack of success in recent times has been blamed on online, shopping online, the convenience factor of shopping online. So in terms of how pricing and pricing parity and how that plays a large part in terms of the sale proposition, how do you see this affecting the customer journey, and how do you see high street retailers combating this?
Sure, I completely agree. I think that the piece that I really agree on is that customer demands have changed. Convenience is now quite a priority. So I think that e-commerce has done a really great job in catering to this need. That being said, do I feel this is the end of the high street? Not at all. I think if you were to look back at what the high street was 20 years ago, it was a mixed space. It was retail, it was coffee shops, it was pubs, it was services. It was more of a holistic experience rather than what it's now become, which I think is more acutely focused on retail. So people just go in, to go to the shop and then come back. I think what we'll see is we'll start to see a shift of high streets turning back into what it used to be. Because what this does is it engenders an environment and kind of an ecosystem that e-commerce is never going to be able to replace. You're not going to go to your online site to meet your friends and have a coffee, and then drift into store to store and do some window shopping. Oh, I didn't realize the new line is out. This will never be replaced by e-commerce. So I think that we'll see that shift back in, and I think it will sooner or later hit an equilibrium of where it should be.
I think we can You can already see the suggestions of that happening on the high streets at the moment. So, like large fashion retailers, they have coffee shops that are inside. You know, they might not necessarily be purchasing from them, but they're browsing, they're looking, they're kind of like, it's more of a social enterprise piece than a kind of a direct go and purchase.
Completely agree.
I think similarly, in terms of some of the sporting retailers that we work with, they implemented gyms on site. So you actually go to the gym and then you might buy something afterwards. But it's all about, like you said, it's the change and the evolution of the high street. Perfect. Okay, if we take the conversation across to online competition now, I often hear that retailers, when using reprices on marketplaces, it's almost a race to the bottom. So what advice can you give some of the listeners today in terms of how they can protect their margin, how they can keep them competitive, but they can protect their margin?
Yeah, I think it's a good point. And the way I'd re-articulate it is, rather than a race to the bottom, I would say it's a race to an equilibrium. I think that reprices are going to work in both directions. I think ultimately giving a sharp price to a customer is good for everyone. I think, you know, that creates, you know, engenders brand awareness and engenders, you know, customer trust, perception. So I wouldn't look at it as, oh, we know we're just going to reprice at the bottom. We're going to find what the appropriate equilibrium is for the prices based on the competitive marketplace, and then we'll move on from there. I don't think it will just be, you know, we'll go down, and just ends up in this pricing spiral. I don't think we've seen that across the board in a lot of retailers. So I think it's one of those concerns that is valid, but I don't think it's going to be, you know, the end that it's all going to go to the bottom and profitability is just completely wiped out from everyone.
I suppose, like you said, it will find that equilibrium where a retailer is happy to sell, a customer is happy to buy, and then everyone should be winning, basically.
Absolutely.
Okay,
absolutely.
Great. In terms of giving advice in terms of people being successful on e-commerce, is there any kind of amazing, in the 10 years that you've been in this industry, any kind of cool nuggets that you can give away in terms of that advice and being successful?
Absolutely. I think a lot of people kind of over-egg the cake. I think that's a euphemism here, right? Yeah. So what I've seen is that the key 3 pieces that I found really helps retailers, you know, really do a good job is, one, they need to have the right data. Data is, you know, from my background, the most important piece for any retailer, for probably any company, to understand what's going on, how do I basically make strategic decisions from an informed position. So you need to get your data in order first. Second, you need to have a function, a person, a team that focuses specifically on price. And their job is to be the champion to ensure that their prices are at the right price for their brand and what they want to be perceived as. So having that as, you know, as a secondary job or something like that might not give it the attention that it truly needs. And I think having that champion of pricing within your organization is super effective. I think the third one, which is sometimes the most difficult for people to stomach or to kind of sit through, is time. These things weren't earned overnight. You know, the big retailers, big e-commerce companies that you come to the front of your mind, they did not earn their reputation because overnight they, you know, set the market or something. They earned their reputation by being consistent and, you know, doing the best they could to offer, you know, value to the customer. And therefore customers start to pick up on that. So therefore when their selection comes in, you hit those other dimensions such as fulfillment and service. You know, if I know that we have the same price point, or I know that we're, you know, you're in the kind of the running for getting that conversion, I can now look at, oh, you know, how is their service, how is their fulfillment, and then you can have things like, you know, click and collect, where, you know, the brick and mortars also have a good job of being able to get in there. So those would be the 3 kind of key things I look at.
They're great, and I think in terms of how I've seen retailers being able to accelerate their online presence quicker, the people that have been in this e-commerce area in the past 4 to 5 years have much more agile systems.
Absolutely.
Whereas the kind of the bricks and mortar businesses that we unfortunately see going to the wall at the moment, they have legacy systems, so they're not able to kind of take on click and collect quickly. They're not able to sell onto marketplaces.
Absolutely.
They're not able to curate that content quickly enough for people to digest and then be engaging with.
Absolutely.
So I think you're absolutely right in the points that you've taken away there, and I really appreciate your feedback on that. So just to wrap up the interview, thank you ever so lot for your time today, Weldon, and good luck in your future with Pricesearcher.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.